Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the podcast Stuck in the Middle that deals with psychological themes and issues of ambivalence and uncertainty. And my name is Palan, and I'll be moderating this episode, which deals with a very important issue, the issue of future proofing your life, financial planning in an age of uncertainty. In today's world, rising costs, inflation, career instability, financial anxiety, and all of these issues compound our lives. So, how do we navigate these issues? To dissect this subject today, we have an outstanding thought leader with us, Mr. Rajen Devadason, who is a licensed, certified financial planner. He's a very senior person. I always think that he has insightful views, very incisive views, award winning journalist, a thought leader, and he's also Securities Commission's licensed financial planner with Manual Life Investment Management, the CEO of RD Wealth Creation, CEO of RD Book Projects, and of course, we can't have a better person than him to deal with this subject, Rajan. Thank you so much for being here.
That's Palan. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you. And it's intriguing because I've known Rajan for a very long time, but I've never thought about discussing with him future proofing your life or thinking about financial planning till I got to 60 years old. And that's Rajan's contention. Don't think about retirement when you get to 60. Think about retirement now, right away now, and start future proofing your life. So, Rajan, 101 on financial planning. You're an expert. I wouldn't call myself as an expert on financial planning.
But you're certainly an expert in terms of managing your own
Thank
money
you.
and your empire.
Thank you. Thank you. And I think it's a 101 question or a primer. What is financial planning, or what are the basics of financial planning? And what are the three elements that dovetail into it?
Sure.
Rajan.
Thank you. Thank you for the question. There is a very old definition of financial planning that I originally learned, I want to say decades ago, from an old version of the CFP Certified Financial Planner website. And after using it for several years and then constantly going back just to double check, I realized they revamped the website and that particular definition disappeared. But I stuck it in here.
Right.
And so every time I sit down with a potential client, whether I'm telling people what financial planning is all about, which is precisely what your question is, I hearken back to that 17-word definition. Let's see if I can get it right, okay?
Sure.
Financial planning is the process of meeting your life goals through the proper management of your finances. Yes, 17, correct. So, in a more relaxed manner, financial planning is the process of meeting your life goals through the proper management of your finances. There is no rocket science there. It's an incredibly simple, very, very basic definition.
Sure.
The problem, however, is when you hear it once or twice, you reckon, well, common sense, right? You're absolutely right. It is common sense. The problem is, and I'm sure you found this out throughout your very long, very, 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 very successful career.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Common sense is not common practice. And whenever I'm invited in a situation like this to speak about financial planning, one of the first things I bring up is that I'm not really speaking from a position of strength or extreme expertise. I am speaking from the position of someone who continues to make money mistakes. Financial planning is the process of meeting your life goals through the proper management of your finances. I hope that helps.
So it's meeting life goals through the proper management of your finances.
Yes.
Of your finances. Fabulous, fabulous. And, every time I have talked about financial planning, I also learned from the Morgan Housel's book, The Psychology of Money, it's discipline. It's a lot of discipline, because when you say life goals, I think that's, you need to basically be disciplined about what you want and how to pursue it.
Again, but the point is, we all know the importance of discipline, and all of us live on a spectrum. Right now, obviously, I'm not talking about autism. I'm
Yeah,
here talking
sure,
about
sure.
the various spectra.
It's on a wavelength. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
it's yeah,
Well,
it's a
sometimes
line.
you're here, sometimes you're here.
0 to 10, and we all oscillate. But there are some people who are naturally more disciplined than others, and the vast majority of us really not so much. And the point is, financial planning is so important that you can't just rely on your innate capacity for self-discipline. If you're wise, what I think you should do is you create guardrails around your life to compensate for your weaknesses. I'll give you a simple example. I created many years ago something called the Rajen Devadason Blueprint for Financial Freedom,
Sure.
and I stuck my name there because I like the sound of my name. But also, to the best of my knowledge, I believe I'm the first person in the world to put together that particular blueprint using these 5 very basic, very common sense based parameters.
Sure. Right.
So the blueprint comprises 5 elements. The 5 elements are active income. I'll explain each one as we move
Sure.
along. Operational expenses, our respective portfolios of debt, the creation and maintenance of an emergency buffer fund, and then the role of passive income, particularly as we age. So those are the 5 elements. And
Sometimes it's called as non-linear income, right? Passive income.
I don't know about non-linear, but certainly it boils down to, again, very common sense, very, very simple.
You don't need to do something.
You don't need to
day
work
to day in order for that
for your
money
money to come in. And I'll actually go into great depth if you would like
Sure,
me to. But
sure.
right now, I'm still trying to go back to the point about self-discipline.
Sure.
Everything in life becomes so much better if we are immensely self-disciplined. And you, Tan Sri, are clearly incredibly self-disciplined. Me,
Most
not so
of the
much.
time, not all the
That's
time.
right. Absolutely right. Most of the time.
Most of the time, I was doing a pilgrimage in India recently, and while I walked 15 kilometers and all of that stuff,
In a day?
yeah, in a day.
Wow.
But
This
it was
is
also
temple visits, is it?
yeah, temple visits. But it was also interesting that I enjoyed the food along the way. It's like
And it's India, so
it's India.
great.
Yeah, and my gastroenterologist says no coffee, but the coffee smells so good.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. I don't know whether you want to meet my doctor. My doctor wants me to take more coffee.
Oh, really? Okay.
That's a story for another time.
Yeah. And then, it's sometimes like this. I'm very disciplined use of credit card. I go to a shopping mall, I know when. But there are also moments that logic loses to emotions. Yeah. And I do charge because I like what I see. So most of the time, not all the time, Rajan, just to say discipline. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry for the
No,
interruption.
not at all. It actually ties in very, very well. So, because we're
Yeah,
so element number 1 is active income.
Sure.
Active income is the money that we earn from our work, the way that we toil. And I mean, at this juncture of your life, you clearly, from the perspective of lesser mortals like me, you have made it.
Oh, no. I think that will be
I
a
understand.
compliment.
Every wealthy individual I have met has always like freaked out when I have
Yeah.
said that. But the point is, you also need to truly understand the ecosystem that we are in. This is Malaysia.
So active income does stop at a certain point in a person's life.
Axiomatically,
most
by
people.
definition, yes.
Sure. Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So when it comes to active income, we toil for it, we work for it.
Sure.
And active income stops when we properly and fully retire.
Sure.
Now, Malaysia has 34 million people.
Right.
We have a workforce of 17 million people, about half.
Correct. Yeah.
And our official retirement age is 60. But Asia, on the whole, is aging at a faster rate than the whole world retire.
And therefore,
And
we
whether
want to extend it.
yes, and whether we retire at the age of 60 officially in Malaysia, and it's good that now there's a lot of talk about 65, but I believe that probably around about 2050, this is a long way off, it's a quarter of a century away, 25 years from now. If Malaysia doesn't raise its retirement age to, say, 70, I think there will be a problem. Because there's a lot is actually being said. I mean, you're in training, you're in education, so you can probably give far greater input than I can.
Sure.
But it's often been said, one, that the Malaysian public education system is lacking. If you look at our PISA scores,
Sure.
15-year-old kids around the world,
Sure.
we don't do very, very well.
Sure.
I guess what's extra irritating is that the countries that do very well usually are topped by Singapore, and Malaysia and Singapore used to be the same country.
Sure.
So, there's the friendly rivalry as well.
Sure.
So coming back to retirement, we keep earning active income for as long as we work actively and we earn money. Now, I know, I believe money is not an issue with you right now because you've moved into a point of abundance. But for the vast majority of us, okay, and certainly for your employees, if I were to ask you, in terms of active income, would you like to earn more or less? What would the answer be?
More.
More, of course. Every answer I get is
course.
always more from an active perspective. And how do we earn more money? We do three things. We work harder. We work longer for those who can actually earn overtime. And we work smarter,
Yeah,
especially as we age out.
Yes.
Definitely, if you're under the age of 35, you've got enough vigor so you can outwork the older people.
Sure.
But once you cross 35, get close to 40, then the younger kids start coming in, and then
It becomes very competitive.
it becomes very competitive. They're doing different jobs, and so we need to be smarter. And so those are the three ways. Everyone wants to make more money.
Sure.
And we can do so by working longer, working harder, working longer, working smarter. How hungry are you, and how much are you willing to work?
Sure.
And so that's where the first element of the Rajen Devadason blueprint
Right.
for financial freedom kicks in.
Sure.
Active income, we want to earn as much as possible, and we want to earn on a rising basis.
Sure.
Okay. When we earn that money, we use some of it, maybe all of it, but ideally some of it, for our lifestyle expenses. And that parameter, the second one, which is what you referred to just now, is called, based on my blueprint, operational expenses.
Right.
So we've got active income, then we've got operational expenses. Tan Sri, let me just ask you, and it's a really basic question. Ideally, most of the time, perhaps on a month-to-month basis, should your active income or your operational expenses be larger?
Of course, always active income has to be larger, right? It's always the most fundamental thing that I learned in university is revenue minus cost is equals to profit. So obviously, the very famous Tamil poet who said, if you make $1, make sure you do not spend more than $1. Right. And that's a fundamental premise. Yeah.
Absolutely. But the point is, the world is difficult, and many of us do not earn enough money to be able
meet the operational expenses.
And operational expenses is tied to our lifestyle. And our lifestyle obviously comprises two components: our needs and our wants. And obviously we need to take care of all of our needs first. But in the kind of world that we live in now, as it continues to evolve, the term they use, the marketing mavens, the geniuses,
Right.
They're so good at putting together programs that extract cash from us.
You got to be so careful, because if you click on something, it charges your credit card right away. And I had something which just knocked off 2 ringgit 99 cents. And of course, I had to call up the operator, and I said, hey, look, I didn't knock anything. You just took away 2.99, and then they said, I'm sorry, it's a marketing thing, and so they put it back. And it's very,
Wow.
very
And I mean,
risky.
it's amazing that at your level, you actually
Yeah.
look at things with such granularity.
Yeah,
But that comes back to self discipline, right?
yeah, of course, of course, of
Okay.
course, yeah.
So I covered two bits, right? Active income and operational expenses. I promised just now to talk about the importance of self discipline. We all want to make more money. We
Sure.
got to work harder. We got to work longer. We got to work smarter. How do we work smarter? You keep studying, you keep interacting, you upskill yourself.
Skills, yeah.
Each single bit to work longer, to work harder, to
And
work
to work
smarter
smarter.
requires self discipline. And then it boils down to when you wake up in the morning, am I feeling like. Am I feeling like Tan Sri Palan? Am I operating at a high 8 or 9
Don't
or
quote
10
me.
level for self discipline? Or
Oh, the
am
5
I
a.m.
feeling like a
club.
1
Yeah.
or a 2 right now? And there are days when we actually need to relax,
Sure.
but we can't afford to take our foot off the pedal too often. So, self discipline to earn more money. Then, when it comes to operational expenses, we need to um, exercise self discipline by internalizing what I deem to be the single most important financial discipline, and that is delayed gratification.
Absolutely, yeah. Very, very true. I think the world would be a much better place if everybody had that skill set. Yeah. So it's active income, operational expenses, where you need a lot of self discipline.
That's right.
And then,
And you want your active income to be bigger. You want to try and exercise delayed gratification. For those of you who don't know, delayed gratification is the exact opposite of immediate gratification. With immediate gratification, it's a case of I saw that ice cream and I want it now, and
yeah,
I will
yeah,
have it now, and
yeah,
I deserve
yeah.
it. Delayed gratification is not denied gratification.
Sure, sure.
It is only deferred gratification. And I have
You should be able to afford your whatever you want or afford your lifestyle. Yeah.
Yes. Um, but when it comes to making the mental decision, do I exercise delayed gratification? Very often, it's not a case of giving up something that's bad, be able to get something that's good. Often, it's a case of giving up for a while, for a few years, for a couple of decades, things that are good so that you can have something that is great later. The third element, active income, try and grow it. Operational expenses,
Minimize it.
try to create a surplus. As that surplus flows through, you use that to meet all of your debt payments, your
Right,
liabilities.
right.
And so these would be the payments that are that comprise your regular payments on your portfolio of
Sure.
debt. And many of us would have
Car loans, housing loans.
mortgages, yes, car loans. Personal loans are a big deal.
Buy a new mobile phone which gives you 24 months, 48 months.
Yeah, I've never been able to do that. Then they always say it's zero interest, and I'm like, you've really got time. Much easier just to pay the thing and not think about it. Right? But you're absolutely right.
Right.
There are many, many things. And then when it comes to credit cards, if we use our credit cards like charge cards, in other words, we charge and then we go and pay immediately, we won't have a buildup of credit card debt.
Sure.
But remember, I told you that I have made monumental mistakes. Well, I did my A levels in London. I did my university in London, and then I worked just outside of London. And I left. So I first entered the UK at the age of 18 in 1982. I left at the age of 25 in late 1989. When I left with a stack of British bank credit card debts. And it took me years of earning my paltry Malaysian income.
Because the interest is huge, right?
It's very expensive.
Yeah.
Very expensive.
And I was reading one of your articles in the past, and I read it and I tried to retrieve it. It was June 4th of 2023, I think. It was in the New Straits Times. It was something, it resonates with me today when you talk about it. When you talk about some of the things that you talked about, the Rajen Devadason framework, business, life, and debt. And you said the late billionaire Henry Crown, Chicago based industrialist and philanthropist, once said, owing money has never concerned me so long as I know where it could be repaid. And you said in that article, or you wrote in that article, I find it intriguing that Crown used where and not when in his debt repayments reference. I take it to mean that the tycoon was referring to how he could repay the debt, which is only going to be savings or selling or borrowing more money, right? And
Thank you so much. I'm
yeah.
very honored that you dug up something.
And I thought it was very interesting because when I was reading Morgan Housel on Psychology of Money, he says he never owes any money on his cars that he buys because he always buys a car that he can afford. He says, look, I'll buy a Proton. I don't need to impress upon the world that I need a Mercedes until I can afford it. And I once wrote to him and asked him, and I said, yeah, but the interest rate is 2%. And he said, well, we just watch out how the interest is calculated. That was one. And then he said something that my lawyer, a great guy, my legal counsel, who is now in a very important position in a government agency, and he was my legal counsel. And every time we went on mergers and acquisitions, you'll all ask me one question, which you talk about as well. He said, Palan, can we get a good night's sleep? And so what Morgan Housel says is, well, I want a good night's sleep. So I don't want to be think about when did I pay my installment for the car. I don't want to monitor it. So maybe the bank is better off. Maybe I'm better off. But when I don't owe money, it's certain I'm better off. So, talking about debt, Rajan.
Yes, but the truth is that most of us have a series of debts, and I said portfolio of debt. When I first said the first word, I bet you most of your listeners will be thinking, "Oh, okay, portfolio of investments or something." But the word portfolio means collection, and so I have a portfolio of old comic books which I built up in the 80s.
Yes, yes.
You and I have a portfolio of savings and investments. You would have a portfolio of individual businesses.
Sure.
So we almost all of us have a portfolio of debt.
Sure.
And so the third element of the blueprint is your portfolio of debt and your regular payments on the portfolio
Sure.
of debt. Now I'm going to say something that's a little bit shocking, but bear with me, please. My advice, particularly when I'm speaking to a live audience, is for you to never pay your debts on time. Wait for shock. Okay. The issue is, if possible, try and pay your debts early.
Okay.
Early, because when you think about it, someone who extends you a line of credit, whether it be a financial institution or an individual, that creditor trusts you. And if you are able to make the payments early, you actually build up trust capital, which can be of incredible use. There is a difference between credit and liabilities. Credit and credit worthiness tie in with how much do people trust you and will they extend money to you?
You give them a good night's sleep.
Yes, absolutely. Are you deemed to be a AAA individual?
Right.
So are we good so far?
Yeah, very good.
Try and increase operational expenses. Use delayed gratification. Try and reduce that within reason. I mean, don't make your life so miserable. Excess money flows through. Make sure you meet all of your regular payments. And then there are different strategies that allow us to accelerate those repayments so that we can make the debts disappear faster.
And of course, number 4 now. Number 3 was debt, right?
Yes. Regular payments on your portfolio of debt. Hopefully, you still have money flowing through.
Yeah.
And with the excess, you build up what can be called your cushion account or your reserve account. But the term that I really love is EBF, Emergency Buffer Fund.
You write a lot about
I
it.
write a
It
lot
could be
about
an
it.
emergency, it could be an accident, it could be a health hazard, whatever.
Usually it's negative, but sometimes it's a positive thing. And if you've got it there, you can take advantage of an opportunity.
Yeah.
And as a large-scale businessman, you were talking about mergers and acquisitions. I am very sure that you've had situations where, because you had an asset pile set aside, when the opportunity arose, you were able to actually access a portion of it and buy something with the potential of making you even more money down the
Yeah,
road.
yeah. Well, Rajan, while you're talking about the framework, I remember COVID-19 pandemic crisis. It wasn't easy. And I remember on Friday evening, there was talk about the lockdown.
Well,
And if I remember correct, that was a Friday, March 16th,
I'll take your
Friday, I
word for it. I
think,
don't
yeah.
know.
And then on a Monday morning, the market crashed. It just crashed. I remember that our share price went to 1.5 cents, one counter, and another one went to 2.5 cents. And you remember at that time, people who had the money,
What was your base price?
uh, we were at that point at 25 cents. And if I remember correct, another one was at about 20 cents, I think. And people were just selling. It looked like the
They were
world
just
was,
dumping to raise
yeah,
cash.
the world was ending. Yeah,
Yes.
nobody was sure. And nobody was following what Warren Buffett said, buy when everybody is sell
Absolutely.
and sell when everybody
Everyone
is
is
buying.
buying, yes.
And it went, and I knew there were people who bought at 3 cents and 2 cents. And eventually, when we went back last year, I think one of our counters went to 140. They sold at 90 cents, one ringgit,
Making
120.
so much
Yeah,
money.
but then it took a risk. And I think you write in that article about balancing your risk. You need to know how much risk you can absorb or what's your risk appetite. And so, in that sense, sometimes I think that it's also courage
Yes, you're
when you
absolutely
get to
right.
in that framework when you go down.
It's
Sorry to
courage and
interrupt.
it's self-discipline.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
you know what helps with both the self-discipline and the courage? A tall stack of cash. I had lunch yesterday.
Cash is king. Yeah,
Well, actually, be very careful here. What happens is there are times when cash is king,
Yeah.
but when cash is king, it doesn't sit on the throne for very long.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Correct.
right now, because we're talking about the emergency buffer fund, I'm talking about pure cash. I'm not talking about.
But I wanted to talk to you, Rajan, about this because, as I said, I started thinking about retirement when I got to 60, which was not the right strategy. But during the COVID pandemic crisis, I realized some of the things that we had done, not necessarily by intent, but by accident or by planning. So we could
Or
go
the
back.
exercising of common sense.
Yeah.
So
We had
tell us
got-
about. Tell me about those
yeah,
things.
we had some insurance. We could go back and draw upon it. We could borrow money. And the business was actually under tremendous stress because it was lockdown. And therefore, we had some assets, real estate, that we could actually kind of borrow money even if we
Against.
couldn't.
So you didn't sell. What you did was you went to the bank
because
and
we
said,
couldn't sell because the price was so low. But in other words, what happened is, uh, as they say in a Christian wedding, for good or worse,
for better or worse.
better or worse, we had access to capital. So we could use that to tide over a very, very difficult time.
Absolutely.
And I remember that it was very lonely. You just had to sit by, and I was very grateful that my children chose to come back from overseas, and we just would sit there and just manage. And I remember going with my CFO and his secretary to the campus, which was built for 10,000 students, and just the three of us were there. And you had to pay for all expenses, and that's
And what's the carrying
buffer.
cost? How many employees did you maintain?
Oh, we had at that time, I think, about 1,000 employees. Yeah. Of course, there were many government initiatives. It was not just our problem, it was a world problem.
Yes.
And I had friends who came out to support, but it was a very stressful period. And it has an impact on your health, on your mental health, on your
Absolutely.
physical health. And I think it's very important. I always say to people that money problems, you need money to resolve them. Yeah, because people might care for you, but when there is a requirement for money, you better have some access. So the buffer is very important.
And
Thank
when
you
we
for
go
highlighting
through,
it.
you're welcome. When we go through very tough times, I was about to say, don't. I'm not saying don't have it, but I'm saying don't rely on a bank overdraft facility
yeah.
to be your buffer. Because, and this I don't know theoretically, I know practically. Going back to the Asian financial crisis, both of us went through that.
Sure.
And I remember I didn't have a line of credit pulled from me from the bank, but despite having a 100% cover with one of the banks, so I had a secured overdraft against fixed deposit, identical amounts. The banks had no risk. And at the very worst time, I had one client that took 11 months to pay me during the Asian financial crisis of 97, 98. So people were paying, but you just had to wait. And what I did was I was doing everything I can to stay afloat. And then I got a love letter from the bank saying, your 100% cover is insufficient. We now want 105% cover. Please top up. So I had to scramble to create this FD thing to be able to maintain, so FDs, right? To maintain this line. I never forgot that. I also, to a large extent, never forgave that bank.
Yeah, well, there's a famous saying that one of my trainers many years ago, a lecturer, Professor Rajalingam from Mara, used to say, a banker is one who gives you an umbrella when it's not raining and takes it away when it's raining. But having said that, during the pandemic crisis, I had one banker who went out of his way to support us.
And you remember that,
And
right?
I remember that gentleman for a long time.
Yes, we never forget.
Because, but for him, I think life would have been messy.
Yes, yes. And then if you this I just know from observation and what I remember of the news. But in the early years when Tony Fernandez was building up AirAsia, I think CIMB was rock solid in promoting.
Yeah, and he supported them.
So it works out very well. So coming back
to number 5, right?
Buffer
zone,
number 4, the buffer, still the buffer. Don't rely on a line of credit. Make sure it's your cash. Put that cash in a savings account. Put your cash in fixed deposits. Or if you're going to go into a normal fund-related option.
Mutual funds,
Yes, but only a pure money market fund. Sure. Don't even put it into a bond fund, which is great.
Sure, yeah, but it has got a timeline,
Bond funds generally give you better yields than money market cash.
Sure.
But when it comes to the emergency buffer fund specifically, your focus is not your return on capital.
Sure.
It is your return of capital. You want the money when you want the money.
Excess,
Right. And so for employees, my recommendation is that you build an emergency buffer fund, cash. It probably takes years for most of us to do that because we've got so many things to pay for. Our surplus is tiny. But generally, as an employee, what you want is to be able to build up an emergency buffer of between 3 to 6 months expenses. If you have boss who loves you, then maybe 3 or 4 months. Or if you are an employee of the Malaysian government, so iron rice bowl, 3 months sufficient, no problems. If you go to work and you're always thinking that people there are trying to stab you in the back and twist the knife, then get a 5 or 6 month buffer, but use your common sense. But for those of us in business, my recommendation is to have an emergency buffer of between 6 and 12 months expenses.
Of running.
Yeah, totally. So this is not net burn rate. No, this is gross burn rate.
Yeah.
That means you assume everything goes wrong. Can you sustain?
You don't have a dollar income, but you have to sustain for 6 months or 9 months.
That's right. Absolutely. And so hopefully after all of this, you still got some money left over, hopefully.
Yeah.
And that bit should flow into building your pyramid of wealth.
Right.
And I believe that the best way to build a pyramid of wealth is to actually, in your head, think about structuring an SIP, a SIP, which stands for Savings and Investment Portfolio, in the shape of a metaphoric barbell. So you were referring to a piece that I had written, I think in June 2023. That's actually just one of more than 500 columns that I have written for the Sunday Times. So I'm very grateful to the Sunday Times. I'm very grateful to my editor, Intan, in the Vibes section, because I really enjoy it. It does mean that
it's very valuable. It's very valuable, simple, very simple advice, which anybody can follow. Doesn't have to be in jargon.
Well, actually, unfortunately, there are times when there's too much jargon. People tell me, because I try my level best to make it as simple as possible. And lots of people tell me, thank you, I can understand this. But others say, what? Tell me. That's okay. Sit down, I'll explain to you. So it depends. There is a full spectrum of people as well. So what I'm going to talk about now, the
Barbell.
structure of the SIP and barbell, I actually wrote about it, I think, in August 2023. So all you got to do is Google my name and Money
Sure.
Thoughts, NST, and it'll be there. Oh, and metaphoric barbell. So let me just explain this to you.
Sure.
When we put the barbell together, it is a barbell not for investments, but it is a barbell for savings and investments. And there are two reasons why we save, and there are two different reasons why we invest. We save to stabilize our finances, number one. And when we do that, we stabilize our emotions, which allows us to sleep at night. And that sleep test is absolutely crucial. It's very interesting that you mentioned the sleep test as applied, I believe, by Morgan Housel in the Psychology of Money with regard to debt. Usually, when I talk about the sleep test, it has to do with the structure of your portfolio. How much risk can you ratchet up? And make sure that it is just below the threshold so you can sleep very, very well. So those are the two reasons to save money: stabilize your finances, stabilize your emotions. But the two reasons to invest money, very different. Number one, here you move away from certainty to hopefully high probability, but not absolute certainty.
Sure.
Because you're taking a risk when it comes to investments. The hierarchy, basically, when it comes to wealth accumulation, would be saving, and then you add a bit more risk, investing, and then if you want to add more risk, you're speculating.
Yeah.
I've made a lot of money from some speculations, but I've lost more money.
Yeah,
So I'm
yeah,
a
of
terrible
course, of
speculator,
course, yeah.
so I don't help my clients
Yeah.
speculate. And right at the top is gambling. I won't even talk about haram and everything.
yeah,
I think gambling is stupid simply because it's creating a risk where there wasn't one before.
Right.
So for my serious money, as well as what I do for my clients
And you hear of more people losing money from gambling rather than making money.
Oh, definitely. Probably the ratio is 100 to 1 or 1,000 to 1.
But it's ironical because I think Morgan Housel writes it in his book, and I had an uncle of mine. We used to be driving taxis in the mid 70s, yeah, and he would spend about 800 ringgit on buying numbers. And
Body.
yeah, whatever. I think all kinds of numbers. I have no clue what numbers he buys. He'll buy those welfare tickets those days. So one day I asked him and I said, Uncle, why do you do this? It's crazy. 800 times 12 is basically going to be
9,600. Spending 10,000 a year.
yeah, 10,000, and you could save that money. And he said, Palan, you're educated. There is a pathway for you to make money. But for me, I have no pathway. And maybe it's 1 in a million chance and I take the chance. But I said, unfortunately, uncle, that 1 in a million chances never happened in the last 50 years of your life.
But the vast majority of people actually do blow through the money for gambling. And
Which is not.
you think about it. If it's 10,000 a year for your uncle, and if he did it for 10 years, that's 100,000. If he did it for 50 years, it's 500,000. Now, if that 500,000 were not put at the top, the gambling bit where you're pretty much all gone, but you take it to saving and investing, there actually is a pathway
Yeah. And actually, as you say, that ties back to the
as well.
Thank you.
So you build up the buffer, it gives you stability, but it takes many years to build the buffer. So even if your goal is to have a buffer of 5 months or 10 months, my recommendation is as you earn active income, as you control your operational expenses, as cash flow flows through and you make regular payments on your portfolio of debt, maybe you try and tweak things so you can accelerate your debt. It flows into the emergency buffer fund. Let's say your goal is 5 months, okay? When you get to about 2 months, relax. Because with 2 months, you actually are in better shape than most people.
Sure.
At 2 months, change the flow. Instead of being 100% of the excess, do 50% of the excess, and then the other 50% go toward building your portfolio of wealth. I recommend using a barbell approach. One part is for capital gains. The other part is for passive income generation. Now, I have a financial planning practice that specializes in helping people create private retirement funding programs, private pensions.
Pension funds.
And I never build an investment portfolio. I always build a savings and investment portfolio. I almost always use the barbell structure. And so what goes into capital gains? Remember I said 2 reasons to save, 2 reasons to invest? The 2 reasons to invest would be number one, to try and grow your money faster than inflation erodes its purchasing power.
Sure.
And number two, to try and grow your money faster than taxes increase your uh, uh, taxes erode your purchasing power.
Sure.
So the structure of the barbell is such that you start off when you're younger, very little on the passive income side, much greater on the capital gains. Markets go up and down. When the markets are up or as you begin to age, you shift more and more money to the passive income side so that when the time comes for you to retire, whether you choose to retire early at the age of 55 or 50, which I do not recommend. I think it's good to work. I think it's good to love your work and to just contribute and to keep going as long as you can. But you really don't want to be working for money for the rest of your life. And that's where passive income comes in. So remember, 50% is going into the emergency buffer and it continues to build, right? 2 months, 3 months, etc. When you get to 100% of what you want, stop flowing into the emergency buffer. 100% goes into the barbell.
Yeah.
Now, for the Rajen Devadason blueprint for financial freedom, I'm only using one portion of the barbell, the PI side. So that's passive income. So now you have the 5 elements. As you build your portfolio, most of us have the opportunity to partake of 4 types of passive income. We have money in the bank or whatever, and we earn interest. We have dividends we get from our EPF accounts. We have dividends from our stock investments. Many people have unit trust investments, but relatively few have actually restructured their unit trust investments to also create regular cash distributions. Because in retirement, normally with unit trust investments, the units go back in. You can't do anything with that. You need money in the bank. And you can actually structure things so that money goes into the bank. So interest, dividends, cash distributions. And then we're Asians, right? So we love rent. And therefore, we want to collect rent. And so we get rent coming in. So effectively, that we have that active income, operational expenses, regular payments on your portfolio of debt, building the emergency buffer, creating a passive income flow. And you achieve financial freedom when these parameters are met. When I write it out, what I do is it's a PI colon, and then it's FF greater than OE plus RPOPOD. This is incredibly difficult in podcast to follow, but let me explain to you. It means that you achieve financial freedom when your passive income is greater than your normal expenses. What are your normal expenses? Your operational expenses plus your regular payment on your portfolio of debt. I advocate people working longer rather than shorter. And I also strongly recommend never stop work until you pay off all your debt. Because if you do that, then your formula for financial freedom collapses. It becomes simpler. And then it's financial freedom is achieved when your PI is greater than your OE, when your passive income is greater than your operational expense. 3 parts. A complete financial plan, which you can either put together on a DIY basis or working with a licensed financial planner. If it's DIY, I freely give to you. All I ask is that you just go to Google, type in my name, Rajen Devadason, type in my column, Money Thoughts. There are more than 500 there in the NST archive. Help yourself, read, educate yourself. If you want to not do the DIY route, but you actually want to work with a licensed financial planner, go to the website of the Financial Planning Association of Malaysia, which is www.fpam, F-P-A-M, Financial Planning Association Malaysia, fpam.org.my. It's a great website, fantastic facilities, and it'll give you an option to connect with licensed financial planners. Then the 3 elements of a complete financial plan, very easy to remember. If you have an iPad or any kind of pad, PAD, that's the mnemonic that you use. You got to take care of wealth protection. You got to take care of wealth accumulation. We have been speaking largely about wealth accumulation. And then you've also got to take care of wealth distribution. And wealth distribution in Malaysia is different from Muslims and from non-Muslims. For Muslims, there is the Islamic distribution law, under Sharia called Faraid, Faraid. Under Faraid, you can only give a maximum of 1/3 of your assets to people outside using an Islamic will, which is a wasiat. But for those of us who are non-Muslims, we don't have such constraints.
You can write a will.
Write a will,
Or
use
a
a private
trust.
trust. And you are so wealthy, you really should use a private trust as well. The joke usually is everyone should have a will. Not everyone needs to have a private trust or can afford a private trust. But if you have a reasonable amount of money and you've got young children, a trust makes sense. Or if you have older children whom you do not trust, set up a private trust. I hope that helps.
Yeah, it really helps. And I just wanted to just ask one last question because you've been so involved in writing and speaking and promoting literacy. Yeah. So if there was just 2 lines or 3 lines you wanted to say to our viewers, what would you say is the importance of financial literacy for well-being of all of us?
Thank you. Thank you for asking that question. I think all of us, regardless of where we start, can learn. And so I would advocate that everyone who can start thinking about this. You know, almost every day in the news, you hear of some poor Malaysian being scammed. And one of the key things that you want to do is to build a series of filters against getting scammed. And probably the most useful filter is financial literacy. Another one would simply be enhance your street smarts.
Yeah.
The problem with street smarts is it's not something that you can absorb osmotically. So many of us, I don't consider myself street smart. I think you are very street smart. I'm not very street smart. But I know lots of people. And so I create an orbital system. I create a satellite system around me, with accountants, with doctors, with lawyers, with physical trainers, with bankers, people who I deem to be trustworthy and who have my back. And so because I don't think I'm terribly street smart, I rely on them. Also, you need to be highly cynical, especially if someone comes and says, this is too good to be true, it probably is. It's unbelievable. You get well-educated doctors, lawyers, engineers.
Get scammed, yeah.
And they get scammed because they're told, you put 1,000 ringgit down, and at the end of the month, you get 10,000. Ask a question. And the question is, what is the economic reality behind this promised return? But to enhance financial literacy, attend workshops, attend seminars, attend conferences, be highly critical, be highly dubious, create a satellite system of people that you can trust.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Rajan. And also, just please remember, today's knowledge is not far away. You could just get onto a podcast. You can get onto the website. It's all there. And I know Rajan had many nice things to say about me, but I just wanted to just say one thing. I have lost a lot of money that
So have I.
I haven't told you, but that's probably another podcast for another day. And I also want to let you know that work is my passion, just like it's Rajan's passion. And some of you know one of my friends. His name is Tan Sri Limbi Chai, the billionaire founder of Top Glove Corporation. And he says, I work 7 days a week, 10 hours a day, not to make money, but because I love work. So just remember, there are no shortcuts to success, please. It's all about discipline, hard work, and like what Rajan defined financial planning. You just need to know what you want in life, because otherwise, as there was this saying in Alice in Wonderland, you will get somewhere, but that might not be the place you want to be. Well, thank you for being here. Thank you. And thank you, Rajan. Thank you.
Ansri, thank you.
Thank you very
so
much.
It's such a delight.
Thank you. Thank you.